candidates for baccalaureate degrees from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and University College have gathered together to celebrate commencement. All are in their places. These proceedings are hereby called to order. May I now introduce Interim Dean Joseph Carney of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences.
Thank you, Professor Cole. I want to give special thanks and recognize the members of the Iowa Brass Quintet. On horn, Mr. Komsum Dilakunaran. On trombone, Mr. Caleb Lambert. On tuba, Professor John Manning. And on trumpets, Dr. Amy Schendel and Mr. Evan Fowler. Thank you very much. These proceedings are being interpreted by Ms. Scotty Van Eisenham. Now I'd like to introduce Sage Spiker of Oxford, Iowa. Sage, a theater major and vocal performance minor, is a member of the class of 2019. He will now open this ceremony by leading us in singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the University of Iowa, the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and University College, I want to welcome all of you to this wonderful celebration. Today's ceremony is a milestone not only in the lives of today's graduates, but also in the life of the university. Each commencement ceremony reminds us anew of the essential educational purpose of our university, which is to prepare students for fulfilling futures and to continually revitalize humanity's quest for knowledge and understanding. We don't know what professions or technologies will exist in decades to come, and we only have a glimpse of the challenges and opportunities that our society and our newest alumni will face in the future. But as I look out at this gathering of scholars, I know that they are up to any task that comes before them. Through their liberal arts and sciences education, they have developed a lifelong thirst for knowledge and understanding of the world and its citizens. They are able to communicate persuasively and think creatively and adapt quickly. They are open to emerging ideas and technology and prepared to work with colleagues from diverse backgrounds and with diverse experience to solve the problems and developments and new frontiers. Graduates, on behalf of all of us on the stage today and all the faculty and staff throughout the university, I offer my warmest and deepest congratulations. You have worked hard and persevered, not just in the classroom, but in studios and labs and also in your extracurricular activities. I thank you for your energy and commitment to your education and to the society you will lead. To join me in honoring you today are Susan J. Curry, Interim Provost and Executive Vice President of the University of Iowa, Tanya Uden-Holman, Associate Provost for Undergraduate Education and Dean of University College. Also present are representatives of the faculty, those scholars, artists, scientists, and teachers who have challenged you and worked with you to help you earn your college degree. The College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and University College have a faculty of extraordinary quality and commitment, and all of you graduating today have benefited immensely from your acquaintance and interaction with them, as they have benefited from working with you. They are proud of you, and I would like to introduce the faculty who are on the stage to honor you today. Renee Cole, Professor of Chemistry, Collegiate Scholar, and today's Faculty Marshal. Scott Ballrood, Associate Professor of Physics and Astronomy. Armando Duarte, Professor of Dance. Daniel Fine, Assistant Professor of Theater Arts and Dance. Shay Brown, Lecturer in Physics and Astronomy. Jeff Fedorovitz, Associate Professor of Psychiatry in the Carver College of Medicine. John Rapson, Professor of Music. Frida Lynn, Associate Professor of Sociology. Matthew Bogner, Associate Professor of Instruction in Statistics and Actuarial Science. Jennifer Buckley, Assistant Professor of Dance. Patrick Dolan, Lecturer in Rhetoric and Gender, Women's, and Sexuality Studies. Robert Walker, Lecturer in the Henry B. Tippie College of Business. And Eric Tate, Associate Professor of Geographical and Sustainability Sciences. Now I ask you to turn your attention to the video screens in the arena for a special presentation titled Celebrating Iowa.
I chose to come to Iowa because when I came on my visit day, I got an insane amount of community from everyone I talked to.
Iowa just welcomed me completely, open arms.
Nothing ever felt like home until I came here.
Iowa's got one of the best nursing programs in the country, and that's what drew us here.
There's a community of people who care and who are just very, very genuine.
Collaboration is really fostered here, and it's something that you don't really get anywhere else.
But I was very surprised as to how much I could continue to learn and grow through every experience.
But I never realized how strong the relationships I had would be.
I'm gonna miss being surrounded by a bunch of like-minded people. I think everyone here that's near me is very driven and very focused.
I promised my mom that I would graduate from college. It's been just as important in my life as getting married, having my first child.
I feel like I'm prepared enough to begin my professional journey towards something that I can make an impact in.
It was not easy, I won't lie, but in hindsight, it's one of the best things I've ever done with my life.
Oh, I don't want to leave. Don't make me leave. Really, I'd like to thank my family for supporting me. God.
Oh gosh, I can already feel myself starting to cry.
I would like to thank my husband for always taking the time to be there for me.
I would like to thank my parents.
And they've given me so many opportunities to just be myself, to go out into the great, beyond, and do things that I never thought I could do.
So I've realized everything that they've had to give up for me to be where I am, and I appreciate everything that they've done for me.
I'm now delighted to invite Professor of Music John Rapson to address the graduates. Professor Rapson, a trombonist, pianist, and composer, joined the faculty in our School of Music in 1993 and will retire at the end of this academic year. During the intervening 25 years, he has been a national leader in jazz education and has kept a busy schedule performing and writing innovative music. Professor Rapson has written jazz compositions and ensembles for all stripes and recorded 27 albums, 13 of which are under his leadership and feature his compositions. His most recent album is Hot Tamale Louie, the story of Zarif Khan, which tells the true life story of an Afghan immigrant who settled in Wyoming in the early part of the last century. Most important, he has inspired countless students on all levels here at Iowa to pursue music in their lives and careers. Moreover, John is about the coolest guy that I know. John.
That's a lot to live up to. Wow. You did it. Congratulations. I will retire this spring, so you might say I'm graduating also. I started kindergarten in 1958, and I'm finally getting out. In truth, this event has come to signify the way our society celebrates a rite of passage into adulthood. So regardless of degree, I now pronounce you all grown-ups. Thank you for undertaking a task that has cost much in time, energy, and self-examination. Our world is already a better place because you will be informed and capable. As you know, many people assisted you, making it possible to study here. Parents, grandparents, friends, teachers, counselors, and even strangers who helped you find some money. They have invested their hope in you as well as their finances. Please take a moment to recognize their deep commitment to you. Okay, I want to talk about Grandma Mabel and baseball. But first, I must fulfill a promise to Dean Carney and suggest some of the merits of a liberal arts education. Per the requisite, I will be tossing around platitudes like rice at a wedding. My dad, an economics professor at a small liberal arts college, was given to saying that most jobs can be learned in 6 weeks to 6 months. A 4-year education should do more. So here goes. An education should teach you how to make a life, not just a living. To learn how to solve complex problems by breaking them into doable parts. To read and observe with discernment and reflection. To imagine possibilities. To know integrity as an aspect of every action, to care for your body and for your mind. Blank page. When you are well, we are well. To learn how to ask good questions, and better yet, to be good listeners. To represent your thoughts in speech and prose with clarity, dignity, and grace. To be committed to delight and true freedom instead of license. To assess received knowledge and who it is that you have come to trust for it. To intuit that the world is a bigger place than where you live. and to understand that the past requires respect and interpretation, to suspend opinion in order to richly describe, to anticipate anything worth doing will require sacrifice. To be a responsible participant and know when to defer, to desire being useful more than successful. In short, it should teach us all how to care. So what? Those lofty assertions plus $2 might buy you a cup of coffee. What good are they? It should come as no surprise that you are jumping into a sea of change with constant flux and unexpected turns. The average person from my generation will have had 12 to 15 job changes during their working life, and perhaps 3 career changes. This is harder to assess, and I'll address it in a bit. Some people change a lot, some not so much. But here's an interesting statistic from the Census Bureau. The average tenure of all working persons today, regardless of age, gender, or ethnicity, with their current employer is 3.8 years. I want that to sink in. Can you imagine how many sustained jobs must be averaged with short stints in order for this to be true? Getting caught in my ear there. Here's another consideration. From age 20 until 27, I did lawn care, bathroom cleaning, masonry, fire abatement, construction, encyclopedia sales, industrial laundry, dishwashing, music performance, radiator delivery, parish work, and trombone teaching. I don't know if any of those could be considered a career before I became a professor, but there is more to consider. I have never had a course in jazz. I ended up teaching something I was not trained to do. There was no jazz program at the liberal arts college I attended until I came to the University of Iowa in 1993. I had taught many different courses, most music-related, but some not. I was 40 years old before I found a job that most might consider a calling. Yet again, I plan to be a full-time composer when I retire. Is that my true calling? Maybe I've merely had jobs leading up to that moment. Let's look at another dimension. Many of the jobs that exist today could not have been imagined when I was in my 20s. And when you consider the change in technology, most of us have had to learn how to do our jobs differently than the way we were taught. As a fledgling composer, I had to learn how to do hand manuscript with ink on a type of vellum called onion skins. A mistake or a drip of ink meant cutting out the offending section with a razor, preparing an amended piece, then reaffixing it with a glue that could pull your fingerprints off. These then sent to a business with machines that could transfer the notation to paper as needed. I had no sooner learned how to do this than the copy machine was invented. I could repair any page with less fuss and by myself, yielding flawless copies at a whim. So we just did pen on paper from the get-go. That technology was eclipsed a decade later by the personal computer. Music notation software was eventually developed that could produce engraver quality parts and scores. Once you learned it. And kept learning it. Updates and changes now came at a pace of every 2 to 3 years. One of my current tasks after I graduate will be to learn yet another new software, for mine is no longer supported. Turns out maybe old dogs can learn new tricks. You may or may not change careers during your lifetime. For certain, you will change jobs, and further, you will have to adjust your knowledge and skills along the way. Whether you know it or not, a liberal arts education has prepared you to engage this change, even if it hasn't trained you for a specific job. Now I want to talk about happiness. Recently, I heard Pico Iyer define happiness as absorption. I like this definition, if incomplete, because it suggests a state of attentiveness that captures all of the senses, where one is no longer aware of time passing. Don't you just love it when you can't tell when time is passing? I love that. My wife also has an undergraduate liberal arts degree, but whereas my work often flies away into the fanciful, hers has always been tactile. She has been a seamstress, a wait person, a stay-at-home mom, a caterer, a clerical assistant, a sandwich maker, a mail deliverer, and a community action representative. When we came to Iowa in 1993, at the age of 37, she decided she wanted to be a carpenter and that she would learn the trade as an apprentice. And she did. She found a master carpenter who was willing to take her on and proceeded with a ton of grunt work before emerging as a cabinet builder. It took a lot of time and will and perseverance. She now has her own business restoring and renovating homes, and she loves it. She is the epitome of absorption. And when she's happy, I'm happy. As you are probably aware, there are many literary quotes that dot the sidewalks of downtown Iowa City. My favorite, by Patricia Hampel, is just outside the public library, and I find it a perfect summary. I hope you go and look at it, or maybe come back to Iowa City and go by the library and remember what your education was about. This is what it reads. Maybe being oneself is always an acquired taste. Now about Grandma Mabel and baseball. Though I never lived in Detroit, we went there every summer. Nearly every evening, Grandma and I would repair to the back porch and listen to the Tigers game on the radio. I would pore over the sports page and baseball cards, memorizing statistics and players. I didn't know I was doing trench work or that I was absorbed. I did know I was happy. Once when I was about 8, we went to a reunion at the farm where Graham had been raised. I had gone to the sitting room after dinner with the uncles and great uncles to listen to the game. As they sat with their small glasses of beer, Graham noticed me and came back with a Verner's ginger ale so I could have a beer with the boys. She departed with a wink. I felt a part of everything, of being welcomed in the world. of being in love. So let's end with a short exercise from Kurt Vonnegut. First, conjure a person or persons at any level who has opened up a mystery to you, who has unveiled a skill to you, who has brought you into a world of knowledge through kindness. Do y'all have one? I'm going to ask you to raise your hands when you have one. Okay, now say that name out loud to the person next to you. And now, say thank you.
Thank you, John. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our student speaker, Leela Sathyaputri. Leela, who hails here from Iowa City, is graduating today with high distinction and university honors, having completed a major in psychology with a minor in Spanish. She has been on the Dean's List throughout her time at Iowa and has been inducted into the Phi Beta Kappa, the nation's most prestigious honor society in the liberal arts. Leela has conducted high-level research with several faculty members, receiving fellowships from the Iowa Center for Research by Undergraduates, and is co-author of a published paper in the American Journal of Medical Genetics. As a UI student, she studied abroad and conducted research in the Dominican Republic, and she is a mobile crisis outreach counselor working to diffuse crisis situations in emergency rooms, jails, and other sites throughout a large area of Iowa. She plans to pursue medical school. We are pleased to have her address her fellow graduates today. Leela.
Our degrees represent more than just academics. I thank the University of Iowa for showing us how to take joy in service. The value of an education is that we learn how connected we all are. The world feels so much bigger and deeper than it did in high school. Life feels so much longer. This gives us more freedom, but also calls into question how we're meant to balance our personal lives with navigating a world to which we're expected to contribute, but can't control. As up-and-coming adults, we're saddled with the weight of trying to make society a better place, while simultaneously battling fear of our futures and finding a place to belong. In the big picture, we wonder if our country will implode before we can find happiness. And on the day today's new graduates, we're just wondering if we'll get a job that feeds us, but won't make us want to die. One way we can reconcile the two is to focus on what's in reach, and our reach extends further than we think. If there's one thing the University of Iowa taught me, it's that by the simple action of meeting people, we change the worlds of those around us. It just happens, whether we want it to or not. Now imagine how we influence our worlds when we first heal ourselves. So let's allow ourselves to be selfish for the next few minutes. I know a lot of us are wondering what we really want. We might grip our diplomas with relief and exhilaration, but we also leave with worry, feeling unprepared and maybe desperate. We're transitioning into the real world. And in this time of change, of loss, really, as we move away, the question of what we want becomes, what can we take with us? What do we want to? I could talk about the knowledge we'll take with us, but you already know all that. There's a reason why we spent 4 years of our lives in this. But more importantly, college wasn't just about the road to education. It's what we learned about ourselves along the way. How it felt to discover a passion. What it's like to fall short of a hope. We will face failure. There will be times when life feels lonely and boring and meaningless. We're going to grow to adore projects and new places and friends the way we once did with host families and teammates. And then we will grieve when those experiences end. And in the monotony of daily life, while we yearn for something better, we might just forget they happened, or let them lose meaning. But what a shame that would be, because the value of our lives isn't in the bottom line. We are human, and so we are connected, not just to others, but to our own histories. We are the sum of our perceptions of all that we've lived and felt. And yes, that includes the bad. But it's far from just hurt or disappointment. It also includes the joy of late-night movie binges, the heart-to-heart talks, and passing out together on the couch. And at one time, I accidentally trapped a friend with me in the lab until 6 in the morning, because I never want to forget the outrage on his face when we saw the sun. It includes every time you looked at a teacher or a friend or a partner, feeling safe and happy and alive, and thought, God, I'm glad I met you. So what do we take with us? All of us here today are saying goodbye to someone. We feel implicitly that some things won't ever be the same. But that doesn't change the fact that we've lived this, that these experiences are ours in every way, that on some level, even if just in memory, as we change and grow and change our reasons to live, we will always have what we consciously choose to keep. Because failure leads us to what we truly care about. Pain teaches us gratitude. Loss shows us a reason to love. Because happiness is more than the absence of sadness or the simple fading rush of dopamine. No, we are possessive creatures. Happiness is about ownership. It's about cradling a moment like a flame in your chest and rejoicing in the fact that of all people, this happened to you. It's the freedom of choice to embrace the bitter lessons life has to teach and turn them into sweetness. It's the decision to hold on to the light in our lives more tightly than the dark. And finally, it's a decision to share that light with others. I'd like to take this moment for the people who made me who I am today. And if you'd stand up, 2 of the mentors are behind me, just pretend I'm looking at you. Dr. Pat Dolan, you set the tone for my entire academic career. For my very first semester, you gave me a voice. The speech is your fault. I still think about the readings you assigned to us in rhetoric, and the thought of your faith and your friendship keeps me trying to translate my feelings into words. Dr. Jess Fedorowicz, you are a living guideline for what I want to one day bring to my work. Watching you made me understand, and more than understand, to feel what it means to treat the patient, not the illness. Because you're more than a doctor. You're a healer. Dr. Jimmy Potash, former chair of psychiatry for UIHC, who's watching from Baltimore. Meeting you put me on the path to a calling. Your belief in my ability gave me the courage to reach out and take chances. And I endeavored to live up to your hopes. It was an honor to be on your team. And to my parents, friends, and others dear to me, thank you for trusting in a scrappy, overeager kid. Thank you for sitting in the darkness with me until I was ready to let go. The joy and the revelations of our shared time, I claim as mine. So who I am and what I do is yours. Wherever I go, a part of me stays with you. And to the graduates, I hope we can be brave in the face of loss and uncertainty, that we're able to forgive ourselves, whatever that means to all of us. I hope we remember our beginnings as we settle into what fulfills us, and that we can take care of ourselves alongside our social duties. I will us to move forward with pride and excitement, and in these times when it's so easy to feel overwhelmed, let's go out into the world with the boldness to light our paths with all that we've loved, and let's choose to take care of each other. Thank you.
Leela, thank you very much. You make us all proud. We come now to the real highlight of this event, which is the conferral of the degrees. I invite Provost Susan J. Curry to come forward. Will the candidates for the Bachelor of Applied Studies, Bachelor of Liberal Studies, Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts degrees please rise? Provost Curry, these worthy and approved candidates, having completed all the requirements for the degrees as listed in the commencement program, are recommended to you for the conferring of these degrees by the faculty of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and University College.
On recommendation of the faculty of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and University College, and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents, State of Iowa, I confer on each of you the degree Bachelor of Applied Studies, Bachelor of Liberal Studies, Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Arts as qualified and designated.
Please remain standing for the tassel turning ceremony. I have to say I'm really impressed. You all have the tassels on the left side, and so you're ready for this event here. So the turning of the tassels is a traditional gesture by which each student signifies the passage from degree candidate to graduate. Now, before we recognize each of you individually, I ask you to mark your new status as graduates of the University of Iowa by moving your tassel on your cap from the right side to the left side. Well done, you are graduates. Will the graduates please be seated? We now come to the part of the program where we individually recognize each graduate. We are proud of every student who has met the demanding requirements that we set forth for the attainment of degrees. We note with special satisfaction those students who have earned high grade point average that qualifies them for graduation with one of these 3 levels of distinction. This morning, they wear the distinction literally on their sleeves. So 3 stars on a sleeve indicates highest distinction, 2 stars, high distinction, and 1 star signifies distinction. Students graduating with honors in the major wear a white cordon. Students graduating with university honors are recognized by a medal worn on a black and gold lanyard. Students graduating with Phi Beta Kappa honors, indicating their acceptance into the oldest and most prestigious National Honor Society for students in the liberal arts and sciences, wear a pink and sky blue cordon. Will all graduate members of Phi Beta Kappa and those who are graduating with highest distinction, high distinction, distinction, honors in the major, and university honors please stand? Thank you and congratulations. Today's graduates will be presented by alumni Nick Arp, a 2003 recipient of the Master's degree in Journalism, and Ron Clark, a 1980 recipient of a Master of Fine Arts in Theater.
Here we go. David James Campbell.
Thomas Winter.
Benjamin Connington.
Emily Verschaw.
Timesha Bailey.
Sandra Weiler.
Katie Draves.
Christopher Walbert.
Laura Davidek.
Tyler Tim.
Ariana Diwan.
Catherine C. Stone.
Matthew Calvert.
Emily Sula.
Mitchell Carver.
Christine Tigert.
Yadira Cervantes.
Angela Schmitterer.
Shelby Clarton.
Brittany Winkle.
Alma Ali Basic.
Sarah Schulte.
Aida Ali Basic. Hey.
Jennifer Slate.
Leela Sathyaputri.
Jenny Marie Troina.
Brittany Allendorf with University Honors.
Tegan von Sagern.
Stephen Brown.
Hannah Hewson with University Honors, with Honors in Human Physiology, with distinction.
Chase Bouchard.
Emma Tannenbaum.
Samuel Clausen Hansen.
Morgan Stubbs.
Rachel Hume.
Katie Welander.
Rachel Beitzel.
Matthew Stout.
Allison Rushi.
Jonathan Takis.
Rachel Bulow.
Hunter Williams.
Cynthia Barragan.
Emily Van Weel with University Honors, with Honors in Communication Studies.
Jamie Bush.
Lauren Velandrin.
Troy Daly.
Laura Sloan.
Alexander J. Benke.
Michael Van Osbury.
Ariana Bentel.
Kerry Trevion.
Drew Arduzer.
Mitchell Spendler.
Emma Tai.
Xinyi Zhang.
Katherine Brevik.
Manghan Yang.
Nicholas Gross.
David Washburn,
Emilee Davidson,
Keaton Vance,
Sarah Asari,
Joseph Steinbraun, with university honors, with honors in history.
Claire Nichols,
Lucas Waburka,
Benjamin Davis,
Alejandro Terrones,
Cassidy Cruise,
Brian Long,
Nikki Ciha,
Chloe Petramali,
Griselda Arroyo Vasquez,
Victoria Tonyug,
Dallas Clark,
Chloe Siegel,
Alejandra Castillo Mora,
Madison Stecker,
Yidan Chen,
Elaine Stewart,
Melissa Ambrose,
Emily Steinbach,
Yang Deng,
Paige Savory,
Jared Blade,
Jordan Steeb,
Abigail Drees,
Jianjiang Zhan,
Valerie Drake,
Zhenhua Wang,
Ross Clauser,
Shu Yi Wu,
Charles Carlson,
Pu Shea,
Stephen Dieter,
Zi Yuan Young,
Patrick Crowley,
Yi Ji Wu,
Megan Baumunk,
Shan Yi Young,
Taylor Arnold,
Jenna Thornburg,
Nick Ahrens,
Taylor Warner,
Taylor Snyder,
Chuke Oka,
Kelly Kramer,
Caprice Wright,
Lindsey Chapman with university honors, with honors in art,
Tyler Vale,
Caitlin Dombrowski,
Chase Stein,
Claire Christensen,
Sing Yu Yu,
Morgan Brown,
Matthew Wempen,
Michaela Brush with highest distinction,
Alexandria Yakis, with high distinction,
Madison Campbell, just like the soup,
Anna Sheely,
Matthew Durr,
Juliet Tenley,
Jaibao Cheng,
Jessica Shreves,
Matthew Adams,
Evan Stearns,
Brooke Baffa,
Heston Steen with distinction,
Todd Byer II,
Logan Tucker,
Isaac Croston,
Gregory Shaka with university honors, with honors in chemistry,
Tim Diamond,
Brittany Stolfus,
Samuel Bennett,
Jahisha Thomas,
Jordan Perez,
Elizabeth Pagon,
Isaac Clough,
Courtney Squires,
Sang Bui,
Kelly Stickney.
Kelsey Ann Durf.
Brent Vero.
Derek DeWitt.
Chandra Stuntebeck.
Jacob Hirsch.
Kaylee Schnatterist.
Zoe Douglas.
Rachel Werner.
Felipe Gisars.
Jacqueline Bradley.
Ross Clark.
Emily Scholl.
Madeline Dunn.
Alex Zhou.
Tyler Bubser.
Yunji Wang.
Lauren Barber.
Wang Jiang.
Antonietta Caporale.
Boyuan Yao.
Shyanna Dickens.
Tao Zhou Sheng.
Dennis Deng.
Yifan Zhu.
Brooke Anderson.
Bryce Switzer.
Joseph Beam.
Carrie Whitmore.
Kyler Dunham.
Megan Woodard.
Devin Cummings with high distinction.
Hunter Storm.
Ryan Bales.
Brandon Thielen.
Sam Brinks.
Benjamin Zelig.
Connor Alchin.
Alex Sokolovsky.
Dana Corkins.
Dane Siki.
Bridget Briggs.
Maxwell Sedlacek.
Kody Crosthwaite.
Grant Schuhart.
Emily Beckman.
Taylor Van Fleet.
Noah Dorshuk.
Julianne Salmon.
Kirsten Dye.
Sarah Ziegler.
Hannah Cranberg.
Brandon Michael Wheeler.
Beau Bowman.
Ones El Tuhami.
Alyssa Capron.
Carter Ayers.
Leah Becker.
Elaine Detner.
Brendan Kress.
Adam Douglas.
William Brauweiler.
Zachary Balmer.
Johanna Dietrich.
Zachary Bitterman.
Kerwin Alvero.
Nick Chapman.
Leah Best.
Samuel Beccaris.
Jessica Nicole Mendoza.
Dylan Evertson.
Mikaela Digmann.
Ethan Everhart with honors in history.
Kelly Nyland.
Elizabeth Cha with university honors in human physiology with university honors with distinction.
Shannon Kent.
Lauren Dunley.
Dallin Byers.
Brian Sinova.
Christian Brissett.
Sai Eberhadju.
Nicole Dunkel-Jensen.
David Joseph Velasquez II.
Shi Chen.
Joan Chan.
Morgan Cohen.
Yi Hee.
Amy Davis.
Ming Yu Chi.
Gianni Booker.
Christian Vadavoulis.
Charles Boyd III.
Kenneth Zabreski.
Shahira Asmadi.
Andrew Verheul.
Zitao Jen.
Carly Twig.
Thomas Addison Engelbrecht.
Allison Wettengel with distinction.
Kofi Alavo.
Mike Seal.
Daniel Biel.
Alex Sullivan.
Shanya Nyao.
Ibrahim Uram.
Joasia Lee.
Sarah Tao.
Li Shangyan Sai.
Kelby Wheeler.
Ni Shen.
Nadra Mode Hussaini.
Yandan Wang.
Alman Zulkifli.
Brad Nicholas Skiniotis.
Abu Sirlehuddin.
Xiaohan Wang.
Jasmine Wade.
Brandon Schlegel.
Harley Waldstein.
Mohammed Anwar Akmal Moho Hasli.
Brian Zaragoza. Yerzy Tavarovsky.
Adain Harris Moho Hashim.
Utsad Upadhyaya.
Hafiz Tarmisi.
Yitang Wang.
Gada Alhers.
Olivia Teets.
Omar Bin Salamah.
Liu Yuan Wan with university honors with high distinction.
Caleb Bell.
Nathan Whitmer.
Gus Cabrera.
Kegi Limbe.
Chandler Taylor Madison Cox.
Chuyuin Yao.
Sarah Hetner.
Joshua Perez.
Carly Kempshin.
Nicola Robinson.
Samantha Clem.
Rochelle Proska.
Allison Kincaid with university honors, with distinction, with honors in biology.
Kenzie Miller.
Clara Flatus.
Zhao Wei Li.
Olivia Flannery.
Jamie Pritzker.
Alexis Catherine Gay.
Kendra May Nerod.
Brianna Marie Guillory.
Grace Leslie.
Clarissa Klosterman with high distinction.
Daisha Grace Lipke with university honors, with honors in biology, with distinction.
Anna Elaine Jones-Hughes.
Bailey Lukowski.
Mackenzie Eiley.
Olivia McGovern with distinction.
Jenna Reyna Kentkin.
Beatrice Rodriguez.
Kenton Kingsbury with distinction.
Stephen McDonald.
Liz Hughes.
Bailey Michelson.
Jonathan Goldstein.
Marcus Miller with university honors, with honors in political science, with highest distinction.
Austin Claver.
Jiakai Liu.
Is that an A? Benjamin Hale.
Sarah Matus.
Emily Hoverson.
Brendan William Miller.
Muaz Funa.
Ross Reynolds.
Tanner Jacobson.
Keegan Render.
Alexander Kornak.
Jennifer Ray.
Haley Johnson.
Shelley Lee with honors in biology.
Noah Garcia.
Shalene Lacina.
Edgar Gamboa.
Monica Kwan.
Richard Garland.
Natasha Lori Ann Ramari Reed.
Scott James.
Brittany Mathis with honors in sports studies.
I could take half a beer. Matthew Hafferbeer.
Molly Grace Murphy.
Samuel Goke.
Pranav Patel.
Janina Gattillo.
Brett Pearson.
Drew Hagan.
Brennan Perez.
Jack Kinney.
Aaron Obermueller.
Mackenzie Nuff.
Victoria Maria Nowinski.
Logan Flott.
Talon Anderson.
Alexis King.
Jamie Mendoza.
Caitlin Harms.
Isabel Ramos Grania Reed with distinction.
Clint Henning.
Soraya Jaganathan Rangasamy.
Allison Kramer.
T. Lay. Danae Molenkamp.
Ryan Kretwig.
With distinction. Jeffrey Plummer.
Aaron Hossman.
Maggie McLeod.
Alexander Kurtz.
Caitlin Plotty.
Neil Johnson.
Hunter Larson.
Zach Kapler.
Naylan Linares.
Austin Kelly. Good.
Miguel Racinos.
Dalton Ferguson.
Zach Mockey.
Christopher Hutton.
Alexia Meeks.
Jack Flanagan.
Connor Lee.
Jessica Klein.
Ying Pei.
Lydia Hinman.
Mitchell Lawrence.
Tanner Gordon.
Thaisa Nagla.
Yi Xuan Ku.
Yonggil Lee.
Bernadine Franks.
Jin Woo Hong.
Cambridge Haynes.
Woo Jin Kim.
James T. Harris III.
Song Hyun Lim.
Trevin Hartman.
Song Wook Yim.
Donnie Jackson.
Casey Ryder.
Tae Hoon Kim.
Yahan Kui.
Kyung Tai Kim.
David Meyer.
Hong Kook Kim.
Ryan Reese with University Honors, with honors in biomedical sciences, with highest distinction.
Kate Halter.
Hao Tian Lo.
Caleb Cayley.
De Rui Lee.
Jessica Harsma.
Hollis Emily Neal with University Honors.
Michaela Houston.
Savannah Roberts.
Pat Hawks.
Alexa Ramlo.
Sarah Florek.
Shay Pierce.
Corinne Jones with high distinction, with University Honors, and with honors in Communication Studies.
Holly Helene McCoy.
Mackenzie Gartner.
Mackenzie Melby.
Grace Harper with highest distinction.
Morgan Ramsey.
Matthew Jack.
Shan Yu Lai.
Brian Jasper.
Catherine Marquardt.
Anish Komati Reddy.
Cesar Perez.
Carter Klein.
Diego Mercado.
Rebecca Hurley.
Parker Reynolds.
Yi Fang.
Ursula Miniter.
Lauren Johnson.
Aubrey Rivera.
Allison Borgart.
Tori Owens.
Dakun Hee.
Chi Lee.
Yu Yang Hua.
Heru Lu.
Wei Guo.
Zhu Zin Mao.
Yang Jinlan Gao.
Nathan Pranger.
Luke Kaiser.
Justin Rowell.
Tristan Holt.
Zachary Lupin with University Honors, with honors in astronomy, physics, and honors in astronomy.
Kelly Hogan.
Corinna Olson.
Antonio Garcia III.
Kirsten Nicole Leanne.
Jiayan Ji.
Emily Larson.
Yang or Yang? Yu Yang Guo.
Dewey Wynn.
Kristen Hetherington.
Brock Newhouse.
Emily Guzman.
Hayden Meister.
Seth Hamilton.
Ajibola Olyemi.
Eric Knipper.
Peter Nguyen.
Nicholas Hansen.
Kayla Leifried.
Claire Fallis.
Kelly Pierce. Jensen Means.
Yuelen Hu.
Alicia McTaggart.
Shu Hui Gao.
Madison Offenberger.
Xiao Tong He.
Alexandra Mode.
Dahe Kwan.
Kendall Ritchie.
Do-un Kwan.
Noah Lepsak.
Dustin Goodwin.
Lucy James Larson.
Xing Yang.
Zichuan Qin.
Eileen Zhang with high distinction.
Lucas Polly.
Yincheng Zhao.
Cannon Ridgway.
Jun Kuei-yan.
Hiba Kasem.
James Locundo.
Kara Marsh.
Cindy Dye.
Erica Martis.
Jiawei Fang.
Jack Moss with distinction.
Ying Cheng.
Miranda Price.
Su Yao Kang.
Marcos Moreno.
Lucia.
Ashley Miller.
Li Chiao.
Jennifer Leaf.
Panifo Liu.
Mike Maniatis.
Jian Huan.
Mark Rumor.
Jackson Kohout.
Ying Jen Lee.
Shubei Yu.
Ann Ringelstein with university honors, with honors in philosophy, with high distinction.
Mohammed Abdallah.
Daniel Lee. Casey Roshak. Jinhui Liu. B. Yun Liu. Amanda Pokorny. Allison Quick. Caitlin Moravec. Madeline Rowland. Maggie Langle. Anthony Nelson. Jack Lutkus. Riley Pacer. Grace Pacer with honors in international relations. Carter Mao. John Burns. Kevin Orozco. Brandon Malone. Patrick T. Lozier. Jeffrey Sievert, Lauren Mendoza, Andrew Matkovich, Yupeng Fan, Wiliang Liu, Yan Zheng, Eddie Shin,
Great job. At this time, will the audience, the parents, the wives, the husbands and children, the partners, the relatives, and the friends of those who have received degrees today, please rise. You are all you are all the unsung heroes and heroines of the day. Through your support, you have played a critical role in the college career of your loved ones. We salute your commitment, and we join today's graduates in expressing our profound appreciation of a job patiently and superbly done. Graduates, let's thank them.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated for the recession of the platform party. I talk over them, do I? Congratulations! Will our new alumni please join your friends and families on the concourse level? These proceedings are now adjourned.